Okay, let's start. Okay. Thank you for coming, everyone. And it's our first talk, and it's a nice, intimate gathering. But we're not really that intimate because we're live streaming now on Labelle's Tagaytay Boutique Hotel here in Tagaytay, and we're live streaming this first talk. And I hope from here on, more activities can happen in this hotel. Okay, when I was asked by the groups behind Labelle if I could do something with regards to astrology and the times today, I said that maybe we should do it in a way that it could bring together something more focused, specific to the times, okay? So I put together a PowerPoint presentation and we try to explain in an easy to understand manner what's happening up in the stars and the sky, which often people don't connect to what's happening in the earth today. But there really is a connection. So the reason they also asked me to come here was because they said I was an astrologer. So I have to say though that they told me also to introduce myself. So I will introduce myself by saying that I have been reading charts and the stars for almost 30 years and doing counseling. Although I've done this on the side, and this is not really what I do as a social entrepreneur. But I think this has the direction of knowing what's happening in the world today has made me agree to come out to talk about it from a perspective of astrology. Okay, so I titled the talk "The Shift," and it's all about the planets today, COVID, as well as what is this age of Aquarius that we've been hearing about, and would get a little clarity on. That is looking at it from a more scientific perspective when we look at astrology, okay? So, okay, 2020, everybody thought it was going to be a perfect year, a year that was going to be so balanced when it got in, but the first one was the explosion of the atom, right? And what happened thereon has been a total transformation for everybody in the globe at 360 degrees, not even 180, 360 degrees. And so what we've entered, I'd like to call it the portal of change and clarity. The 2020 was about clarity. And when you look at the idea of 2020, right, it's the vision of eyes being able to see with clarity, but actually, suddenly everybody thought they were all going crazy because the world was turning upside down because of the changes of the earth, the cataclysmic changes that were all catalysts, as well as a lot of crises of governments, and of course our COVID issue. And all of this was forcing us to change our consciousness. So I actually looked at the whole idea of 2020 from that of clarity towards the paradigm shift, a paradigm of the way we see life and breaking away of the illusions of what we think our life is, what we think our reality is. Obviously, isn't the reality anymore. And 2020 has shown this to us, and moving now to the end of the year, we're at the end of November, we have one more month coming to the end of the year, and so it's very clear that it's not business as usual, we know this. It's not life anymore by the way we thought we could linearly look at life and plan our lives. It's just totally different. So let's take a look at exactly what is happening. First and foremost is the energies are arising strongly and accelerating. And have you noticed that even since 2012, there has been a more intense rise of work, time less spent with family. Everything was just about going into the norm of looking after jobs and monies and everything that was just what the world defined. So the energies were so wild that to get out of it also meant that you needed to get out of the rat race because the rat race was going mad. And what was happening at that period since 2000, actually since 1980, as an intensity was that our whole solar system, I have to talk bigger, our whole solar system was moving up spiral, going upward. So there was what we call the spiral dynamics happening, not only in our physical bodies, but also in the world and in the galaxy. Remember, now quantum physics defines that everything that is above is the same as it is below, which means everything is one. Okay, by this, what do we exactly mean? Quantum physics has shown that if you look at anything that is physical, it is nothing. We know this, right? Now the scientists see that it's all just energy. There is nothing. So it is either a wave or a particle of energy, and it is not seen. So this energy and the particle or wave started to accelerate because our solar system was moving up what we call a spiral to a more expanded, more conscious way of the universe is expanding. So therefore it also expands us. For all of us who look at our life only as me, my personality, I will be born and I will die and that's it, then we're missing out on a much grander and a bigger thing, no? Which is that we're more than our physical body, that the energies that we have in expanding, all of this is really because we're connected to the universe. So this was a major thing that came at fourth gear or fifth gear in 2020, the acceleration of energies to the point that if our physical bodies were not ready to accelerate with it, kaput. Okay? Because everything's so fast. And if you cannot rise and be lighter, brighter, more freer, then you cannot go with what was really happening or what is happening now in the world and in the galaxy. Okay? I have to expand this beyond our globe. Is our galaxy. Okay? So the spiral dynamics is what this is about, that we are all moving upward. Alright? Which means that the negative energies will go downward. And there will begin to be a separation for the lighter versus the lower energies. And that is why suddenly in the world, there was an intensity of fundamentalism. I'm black and white. I'm against you. I'm this way. And the intensity of that opposition has been so, you see it in the world politics, in our national politics. You see it in the way we are with extreme materialism versus those who want to live an alternative lifestyle. It is so extreme. And this is what we have been experiencing. Because once you pull and pull two things in opposite directions, there's only one way this can go. It, like a rubber band, explodes and breaks, right? So this acceleration was now forcing us upward, and yet a lot still staying downward. So that whole push just it broke. 2020 broke. Okay. So energy has been the crucial action of all that has been happening in the world today, and the acceleration of energy separating from the negative, lower, earth-bound, materialistic energy has been the whole drama. Okay, it's a drama happening, right? And when we look at that, it's actually the drama of the spirit. The Filipinos have a term called diwa. It's so deep, our Pinoy language is so deep that we have such a hard time articulating what exactly is this diwa. Okay, so we've kind of cut it in different angles to see it from various perspectives. And that number one, the diwa is about our spiritual core. And what is that at the core? It's our inner being, yung ating kalooban. First and foremost, that which is inside us. Second, it's also spirit. It animates us. Okay? And the third is sigla, vitality. All of these are part of our spiritual core, and all of it is driven in a way by spirit and energy together. So if we cannot capture this, then we would be missing a major component with which to work out this period of our lives and our globe. Because we are in such a special period that we cannot continue in the same way, using the same tools, right? For example, let's put it in a more everyday life. Technology has overshadowed everything we do, right? We have a millennial with us listening now. Can you imagine if we didn't try to be part of technology? Forget it. You just leave the world because the world is accelerating with technology. Now, on the other hand, that hardcore technology, in its direct opposition, plays against diwa, our spirit, our inner vitality, and what is inside us. Because technology outside in the world, where you have artificial intelligence coming into its own power, you have all the major directions of industry having to go into technology alignments and online, all of this will move us into a world that is so alien to many of us. The young today, I have nieces at 5, 6 years old, and they're faster than me in technology. I mean, this millennial is way ahead of her time, and she's here with us. She's not even a millennial. How old are you? 10. She's 10, and she comes here to listen to me. Wow, I have either a rainbow child here or somebody way ahead. And she's alone now. Everybody who's listening to me, we have somebody here 10 years old listening to this. So it's really all ages here. So what we're trying to say is, if we are not aligned with the rhythm of the times, to balance off what technology is doing to us, without the strength of our inner spirit, we are going to be lost. It's as simple as that. Because we cannot release technology. We can't, because it's where our world is going, so we have to be part of technology. We need to understand it, we need to bring it part of our lives, right? But going that way is also, what? Will you be a robot? Cold, right? So where will our humanism come in? And so this is where diwa, our energy and our spirit comes into play in this period now. So this COVID period gives us a great challenge, and that is the clarity of awakening. Awakening because all of us are asleep. Asleep because we thought success had to be defined by so much money in the bank. We needed to get it this way. And all our value systems have totally been shot. Totally. Right? That even but it's like even corruption in government. It's okay to be corrupt because I'm in government. Or things like this, which are wrong value systems. Right? We've lost the essence of why we are alive. And that life is about the joy and expression of the spirit. And that when we can capture that, that is the clarity of awakening. Because from the clarity, you will see that each one of us, has a shadow and the light. Sometimes the shadow is more than the light. Sometimes the light exudes more than the shadow. But both are present. You know Star Wars? It's a perfect example where Darth Vader goes up against a Jedi because it's the play of light and dark. And this is where we are now in the world, is the play of the light and the dark. It's the play of what is lower to that which could become higher still as we expand and as the universe expands and as our consciousness expands. Okay? So, the shadow and the light is our clarity look because we should have more light, correct? We should have light that enlightens us, that gives us a clear view of where we are and can look at what is negative in ourselves also with honesty and clarity. That's why I put the words anino at kaliwanagan because it's so Pinoy, and we have that in our history. Even our history is always looking for the light. In all the revolutions, we are looking for the kaliwanagan. Now, the world is looking for the kaliwanagan, right? And the COVID period, where everybody has been kept at home, become forced to go internal, have become forced to just see what is in themselves by sheer pressure that you cannot go out because there's a virus. That inner space has forced us to look at this. Many first saw the shadow. Yeah? Oh, their loneliness, their issues, and everything coming out. But the light came out when suddenly family relations started to become fixed. Yeah? People started to do away with issues of stress and just began to enjoy What is it to wake up in the morning, to be alive, to be grateful? Suddenly people were praying again. People were praying, some of them praying because they're afraid, but a lot praying because of gratefulness. So suddenly, with great dichotomy, with great opposition, we saw in ourselves the shadow and the light. We saw in our society the shadow and the light. We see all the institutions, and we will discuss this more, why everything's like this today. But first and foremost, by ourselves, this is what it was about. And will continue to be for the next couple of years. COVID is a gift. We must see this. It is a gift that Spirit gives us. For it heals the earth, and it heals nature, and we are healing ourselves in the process. We're not at all fully healed, believe me, but we are healing ourselves. It's giving the young children a different way of looking at life. It's looking at the old ways and saying, that's over. And the young, which way do we follow? Because even my mom and my dad won't know where to go. Yeah? That's why she's here, 10 years old. He's been here listening to me. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm connecting to a whole next generation just by her being here. What's your name? Maxine. Okay, tell me later why you came, huh? Because I can't believe you're 10 years old listening to me. Okay, I hope you understand this, okay? Now, in the world, in our galaxy, as they say in Star Wars, in our galaxy, not so far away, it's very clearly around our solar system, all of this stuff has been happening, okay? Yes, I'm an astrologer for 30 years, but let me try to explain it in lay language so that you don't go flying off and saying this is hopelessly crazy. But it's not, okay? It's not, believe me. All the planetary movements that have happened this year are so unique and so different that they have not happened together in the past, I don't know, you go back 163 years, you know. This is so important to understand that, for example, the Black Plague, it was a conjunction of Pluto and Saturn, if I'm not mistaken. But that was in England in how many generations way back? Just one combination that happened. This year, all of this happened. Okay, let's take a look at what this is. Again, I will have to be a little bit jargonic, okay, just for you to understand astrology terms, okay? Now, Capricorn stellium. In the sky, up in the sky, you have all our planets, astrological signs going around. And that's why you would have been born in, for example, you're an Aries. That means the sun, when you were born, was in that constellation of Aries. So the whole thing is going around, okay? And the transits that happen affect energies in the world, okay? Now, many planets are in what we call the sign Capricorn. So who's a Capricorn here? None? Okay, anyway, to let you just know, Capricorn means discipline, karma, difficulty, frustration, time, and often death. Okay? So it's strict. It's, you know, it's like this very, very strict old man, and he's gonna hit you, or your piano teacher who's hitting you to teach you something, and you cannot stand the piano teacher, but you will learn. Okay? So Capricorn. When I say stellium, all the planets were together having a party in Capricorn. Now, because Capricorn represents institutions, what it was doing until now, what the planets were doing coming together was slowly breaking everything. Breaking the church. There's no churches. You cannot go into a church now. Suddenly you had to pray by yourself at home. Your belief system had to be created through faith alone, through your own practice. Right? It's breaking up governments. I mean, just Peru, for example, the government there for the past 5 years has had 4 presidents. Everything is crumbling. It's breaking down educational systems. Nobody's in school. Everyone's online. The schools are either closing or trying very hard to adapt an online system. It's breaking business institutions. Because now it's not just for profit. You have to have the 4 Ps right away. The people, the planet, the profit, and the passion. That's why you have the social entrepreneurs coming in. So suddenly, you have this whole break. Relationships are being broken. Right away now, it's like, okay, I'm not even sure if a family can be defined if they're 2 gay couples with a child. That's a family, right? Or suddenly a single mom with a child is a family because they're happy. And they have good guy friends around that support, right? So the system of family is also broken. I mean, when you look at all the institutions, the idea, even agriculture processes, breaking up, right? And of course, you see the biggest thing that is just totally breaking up as an institution is when you look at your own consciousness. It's an institution for yourself. What do I believe in? If I believed before that I was going to kill myself working because I had to have that house, the travel, that they give it to my kids the same way, and then suddenly, you just sit and meditate, right? Or you plant and become a plantita. That's what it is, right? So everything is the doing of Capricorn. Because Capricorn will break whatever is not helping you grow. Alright? It will take from the very roots and throw everything away so that something new can be born. Don't you notice that when we plant, we have to keep making the soil nice and strong by taking out the weeds, taking out the old after the harvest, and then plant again. So we're not yet even in the planting, okay, now? We are just in the, take away that weed, throw that away. Don't even have a garden. You'll have a garden, okay? So this first angle of Capricorn was break it all up. Everything and anything. So, if you are the type of person who cannot accept change, you will suffer. If you're a type of person who has to follow a linear way, you will suffer. Because your mind thinks you know what you want. But the mystery of life is to allow that which arises to blossom and surprise you so that you can experience it and you can grow. That's the reason why we're alive. Okay? So, the whole process of doing, which is Capricornian, I have to do for success, I have to work for success, do, has been broken for us to see and question, how are we being? How are we being with ourselves? In our relationship to ourselves, to our family. So suddenly, the more humanistic values, again, are coming out. And hopefully, the more spiritual values too. Okay? So, Saturn conjuncted Pluto. Wow, this is heavy. Pluto is like Darth Vader, okay? From the left field, Darth Vader comes. Or ninjas, you don't know, it's dark. And the ninja comes, right? Yeah? Yeah, she knows that. Okay, so kill, everybody. Nobody knew where it came from. That's COVID. Totally left field. Why? Because Pluto is a planet that identifies total annihilation, death, and transformation. Total. Pluto is represented by the phoenix. You know that mythical bird that rises, beautiful plums, and then it crashes into the fire. Totally, so that it can once more become golden, and fly. That's Pluto. So where we are now is actually total annihilation of the presence of COVID in the world. We don't even know if these vaccines are really going to take off, right? We don't know. So the next coming 2 years is going to be a normal and a new normal that we'll have to learn to adapt to, all of us. We'll have to learn to adapt to, okay? So Saturn conjunct Pluto. Conjunction means they came together, they partied together. And Pluto, which is the left field death star, the COVID, and Saturn comes and makes it come to the earth. Saturn is material structure and form. Discipline, death, karma. Hello, COVID. And that's been how we began since Feb. Well, December with Wuhan, but all the way so far, this has been one of the things happening. The second, because remember Pluto coming in, brought COVID, health issues, everything. Suddenly Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, like Santa Claus. Oh, you want? I'll give you, I'll give you. The obviously COVID spread around the world. Jupiter is also the planet of spirituality. It forces us to awaken to something beyond the physical. With the idea that COVID is a virus that you do not even see and you have attempted to name, by that itself is already intangible. And what happens with Pluto bringing COVID in, like the ninjas and the dark night and the shadows of Darth Vader, Jupiter says, let's give it to the world. And suddenly COVID is all over the world. Right? So that is just one. Two. Now, planets are normal. They should go forward the normal way, right? I mean, that as we walk forward, right? To walk backward and slower means you are going back and regressing, moving backward, all right? So, almost all the planets have moved backward in space this year. Imagine, if that was not the hand of God, I don't know what it is, but all, okay? When planets move backward in space, everything goes in and nothing moves forward. Mercury moved backward 3 times. Venus moved backward once. Mars moved backward once and is still backward until January. So everything is going back. So what does this signify? It goes to the internal direction for us to assess and put the mirror in front of our faces to see, I can't go forward because I can't see where it's going. I must go back. So can you imagine these 3? They partied wild. And as we spin, we're spinning off control since the beginning of the year, and only now are we attempting towards the latter part of the year to see where are we going for 2021, right? So this itself was crucial to understand. Now, aside from that, there is what we call positions that give personal and collective transformation. Right now, Saturn, the planet of karma, pain, difficulty, frustration, building, material form, is in Aquarius. Meaning, it is trying to create a structure towards what can be different. Aquarius, we will talk more later about it, is about a sign that looks at all that can be collaborative, all that is about a new way of thinking, a utopian, better direction, a way of being able to restructure societies by people working together from shared ideals. Okay? So, Saturn is first breaking Capricorn and then trying to make it go into Aquarius. But it went back to Capricorn. It just went there for 3 months. So it's back in Capricorn now. What did this do? It gave us an idea. Okay, with all the COVID, all the challenges, everything breaking apart, what can we do together? And that was the first thoughts that came in approximately June and July. Okay, that period, June, July, August, when we began to think, okay, so how are we going to do this? How are we going to fix our work? How are we going to fix our transportation? Our businesses, whatever, right? Had to rethink. Another position now, which has been there for 2 years and going on for another 5 to 6 years, is the planet Uranus in Taurus. Okay? Uranus is the planet of radical discontinuity, an eruption so that there is crisis, or from crisis, consciousness arises. Okay? Think of Uranus like a volcano, like the Taal volcano. There's magma underneath. You don't know when it's going to explode, but it will explode. And when it explodes, it will burn everything around. Now, that position is in Taurus. Taurus is Mother Earth. Taurus is that terroir, the earth, everything that is physical. So, magma exploding, the earth changes, everything's being broken up in some way, and COVID comes in so that we can renew the earth. So you have animals going back now to their habitat because man had to keep inside and stay inside their homes, right? So all of this has happened and is still happening. The effects are still there. Okay, so because we're now at the end of the year, I want to highlight that there will be still something. Oh yeah, don't cry. I can see the face. Ah! Yeah. Okay, by the end of the year, and beautifully positioned, is what we call the Great Conjunction. This has not happened in 20 years. Okay, but the Great Conjunction again is with the big planets. These are the big timers already. Okay, if you notice, or in my previous slide, all the planets I talked about, these are the heavy duty, super heavy duty, and they're generational planets, no? So it's like parang, it's really the galaxy talking to us, okay? So this big conjunction is going to happen on December 21, 22 with effects during what we call the winter solstice. I would just like to identify a very unique symbolism of this coming conjunction, and we'll explain what it is. The winter solstice is identified as the longest night, right? It's the darkest night, the longest night of the year. It can also represent where the soul is kept in deepest slumber, right? On a consciousness level. The soul is kept in the deepest slumber during the winter solstice of any year, okay? And therefore, with a conjunction to wabi it must awaken. The soul must awaken. From the depths of the darkness, something must come up. Okay? And that conjunction is Saturn and Jupiter. But in Aquarius na. Not in Capricorn, it's going to Aquarius. So, again, what is Saturn? Pain, difficulty, frustration, karma, the challenge of breaking up, the inability of people to be able to continue, right? And that new form, what happens with Jupiter coming in? It expands new ways into what we now look at as Aquarius, which is a mental planet, meaning it's of the mind. It's new ideas, it's new ways of thinking, it's new theories, new practical ways of being able to go forward. So now it's different from the physical earth-born Capricorn. You get it? So this whole year, we have been staying with the physical, the material. Let's break it up. Let's break institutions. Let's break everything. Everything let's just break, the universe said, because it's useless. And now we must build into something coming up. And that begins December 21, 22, as a new trajectory for the world. Okay? It's a new trajectory. But because it is so new, we're still kind of all over the place, right? So it's so new. So everybody has been asking me for the past 3 years, Jen, when is it going to move? What's going to happen? And they say, is it going to get better? And every year I say no. And they can't believe it. I said no. Actually, all this is in 2026. Earth changes, acceleration, the push is 2026. What this has done at 2020, now at this pivotal position of clarity, 2020, has been to awaken our consciousness. So suddenly I'm talking here in front of you. Imagine, Grace, I've always kept this hidden for 30 years, and here I am talking. All of a sudden, consciousness is out. It's cool to talk spirituality, right? There's so much of these cool New Ager things, but they don't seem to understand that it's not just doing yoga, not just changing your diet. It is about the core of your soul's consciousness to shift, because you are carrying the energetic of the universe with you. You are the universe in motion. You are transforming everything. Why do you think we have COVID? Because everybody's asleep, and everybody was so negative, and everybody was just shh. So of course, Like quantum physics, as I mentioned earlier, quantum physics, where everything is energy, the thought process says, okay, we're going to have to create some big muck here for us to all wake up, and we did it to ourselves. You're wondering why our government's like that? No, everyone's asleep. Okay, so this is a point of great shift also. And so people keep saying, Jen, what do we do? What do we do? Okay, I keep just saying, lighten up, guys. Lighten up. Bring light into yourselves. Lighten up. And I'll share ways of doing that, but I think I'm talking here to the converted. Because we're in a wellness place. You know, I just finished my wonderful Ayurvedic massage. And at the end of it, it's really how do we lighten up in any which way. Okay? So, first, keep this in mind. Lighten up. We'll talk more about it. Stay with the clarity of the now. Not in the future. Everybody talks about this. The future isn't real and the past is gone. The regret is useless and the fear is useless. We have the present, which is the only reality. I mean, all the gurus everywhere have always spoken about this. And all the practitioners who have found clarity have realized, after all their awakenings and all, they go back to life. They go back to living. And they go back to being. And the beingness is where it's got to be light. Because you can also be being, but you're like Darth Vader. Remember we talked about Darth Vader earlier? Right. So you can be Darth Vader if you like. You can be all the whatever. But the call of the times means lighten up with the clarity of the now. Because it is here in this now that we can use technologies. And I call them technologies of flow. I don't know, I made it up. It sounds nice. But technology of flow, right? So what's all this? Yeah, everyone says, I've heard that already. Wellness, diet, sleep, cleanse all the bodies regularly. Yeah, but hey, it's at your face every day. Wash your hands, right? And how to wash your hands? How many hours do you have to sleep? And you're forced at home that instead of sometimes look at your wife, you'd rather sleep. I've had people come because they have issues with their relationships of such intense being together after living life asleep, running and running just to make profit to pay for the kids' education, and suddenly they're together 24/7, right? So all of this are practices and are technologies that we can use. And here's when I'll come into my yogic part. Okay, I'm a yoga teacher. And I'm certified, and I teach pranayama and meditation and all those other woozy stuff they used to think, right? So I used to keep it hidden, because you want to work the world in a way, and then they'll think she's really weird if she does all these things. I was like so young, I was already eating kale and tofu. I'm a born hippie. However, you realize at the end of it, it's the technologies that you learn in any process of what we call the psycho-spiritual disciplines. This can be anything from yoga to aikido to karate to taekwondo, whatever, or qigong, tai chi, all these what we call psycho-spiritual practices, which forces a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual transformation as you move energy through the bodies. This includes meditation also, okay? So, I'd like to introduce you to the bodies. They're very yogic, okay? Allow me, don't read this because it's all the Indian Sanskrit. Let's go simple. 5 bodies. I have a 10-year-old here. I'm so proud. She'll be a teacher in the future. 5 bodies, which once we know how to capture and work, becomes like magic. It's really that. It's magnetism that you lighten up and energize everything, okay? First, let's start from the physical. Let's just hit ourselves and know this is real from a physical third dimension space, okay? So the physical body means we need to diet and eat good food, right? Or else you can also eat all the chips and then get sick after, right? You can also eat all the lechon and then you get high blood, and whatever it is, it's about the physical and how we work it. How often do we walk? How often do we exercise? What do we do to move, right? What do we put in our bodies? They often say you are what you eat. So that's why there's a whole drive now in the world where they have the plant-based diets coming into more popularity, and not just pure vegan. You have mix of flexitarian, ovo, whatever. It's like parang, I don't know, I just eat meat once every quarter. All these things are about us conscious about our bodies. So the physical needs to be nourished in a healthy way. There is the astral. Who of you have come into a room and you say, oh my gosh, there's a spirit here, it's weird. Yeah? Yeah. Nearby. Because there's a heavy, dense energy. Or sometimes you feel something comes here, or something goes here, or you just know there was something off. On the astral plane, there is that energetic of thought forms and blobs that are left over from people who are either dead, souls roaming, or it can also just be an anger thought form that was so dense and it stayed there, blob there, and then you pass by, hit you. So there's really that thing. But it's also your space. You know how sometimes they say, she's or he's moving into my space, it's too much. Can you move back like this? So social distancing is making us aware of this astral plane, right? Because imagine they're very close together and I'm talking to you, the virus is going to go, that's astral plane. The virus is intangible. So we need to cleanse that astral plane. We need to be conscious of the energy we bring into our room. If we don't like a person because they're very, very negative, cut them out of your life now. No ifs, no buts. If you want to lighten up, okay? It's as clear as that. And there are vampires in our life who just want to suck. I have friends that they think they're being kind by listening to all the problems, but they just go more depressed because like a sponge, they take in all that is negative. That's the astral plane work. So, how do you cleanse your space? How do you make it like a marikay? What's a marikaydo? Clean. Maricondo. How do you make it clean and neat and organized? How do you work a lightness? You burn some candles to lighten the space. You put some incense. You put beautiful flowers. Proper lighting. Feng shui. All the air can come in. Okay? That's the physical way of touching the astral plane. Open the curtains. Take out all the old stuff that doesn't have meaning anymore in your life. Next, after that's supposed to be emotional. I'm wrong. Okay, so physical, astral, and emotional. Right? So in the morning, you want to check, how am I feeling? What's my emotional gauge today? Am I insecure? Am I sad? Am I lonely? Why am I lonely? What's the meaning of that? Then the shadow comes again. Earlier, for those who just arrived, we were talking about, I'll come back and give you back a couple of the earlier slides, was how the shadow and the light is being forced on us. Ang anino of the shadow and ang kaliwanagan, which is our light. And all of this is forcing us to look into what we have. So the emotional, supposed to be emotional body, makes us check, how are we feeling? Is it low? Is it high? Is it happy? Is it joyful? So that's another space. So if you have a friend who is going through a heartbreak and is crying, and there you are trying to say, this is what you should do on a mental, it's not going to work. Why? Because the mental is another space. The mental space is the one that says, I'm a victim, I can't do this, I was just rejected, I don't know if I'm going to happen. In the mind, it's all in the mind. It's translated in the emotions, and these are not together, these are not congruent, nor can we use the same energies. Because the emotional energy is different from the mental energy. So do not try to talk your friend out of a heartbreak. Do not try to talk your friend out of grieving, because that's here. Here is just totally mental. They talk about mental stress today, no? Mental illness. And that's because the bombardment of technology has also come in with intensity. That's one. Second, there's been no time for clearing the muck in our brains up there in mental state. Third, there's too much information coming in. And fourth, also, it's just that there's no time to quiet down. It's so polluted in our mental state. That's why there's mental stress, okay? And the mental illness issues. They say depression, that's actually here when they feel sad. It's here when it's psychotic. So there are different levels. And so each must be treated differently and lightened up. Until finally, hopefully, you will touch the spiritual side, which is a much lighter space. What I'm asking is that you have to look at the 5 bodies when you think of technology. Like if I ask you, what are you doing to your emotional space? What do you do every day to make yourself happy? Somebody says, I hug my puppy. Correct. Oh, you listen to music. Music is a technology that's quite healing, right? So how do you now, the physical is easy. Because when you're feeling lethargic, there's many ways. You go running, you have yourself massage, you change your diet. So we all know that. You sleep better, you know that. But what they've also seen is that the physical will affect the emotional, the mental, and then the mental will affect the emotional and the physical, and then the emotional will affect the mental and the physical. In other words, you have to work all. There's no way you choose one. And hopefully, you'll get to up here the spirit, which is higher. Okay. Somebody says, Jen, how do you know if you're going the right way? I said, I think if you followed spirit, you'll know that spirit is about expansion and light and joy and openness, and it opens up. And anything that goes to the shadow gets restricted, closed, hard, scary, dark, like in the box, dark. So you want to follow that flow where it's expansive and move away from the, in all parts, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Using the astral space, cleansing it to help you. Okay? So technology means you create a plan. If, for example, in the week you say, I will touch all this, I must touch all this. Okay, physical, I will do physical exercise 3 times a week. Exercise, I'll run, I'll walk, I'll swim. I'll change my diet, I'll eat meat once a week. Okay? And then astral, I'll clean the house, I'll put nice plants, I'll let the light come in, let the air. Okay? And I'll check this every week so that I know it's clean and it's light. Then third, emotional, maybe I'll listen to music. Maybe I'll do the rosary, because the rosary is a heart thing. Maybe I'll omming. Or I'll go to the karaoke and sing with my friends. Or I'll just pour my heart out to a good friend so that the heart is opened up. And then the mental state. What book are you reading? What paragraph? What caption that you read every day that will stay in the brain, that you think about it? Like a philosophy, a thought, direction, that's mental. And then the spirit is touched by silence. It's just silence. You sit in silence 10 minutes a day, and you commit to that 10, 15 minutes a day, because in just listening to your breath and in a quieted silence, perhaps meditation can happen. Okay? So don't believe people who say they'll teach you meditation. There's nobody who can teach you meditation, because it is a state you arrive in if you're doing the right things, like breathing, like staying put. And in that space between the inhale and the exhale, there's a point of no breath, and meditation begins to happen. Okay? So what we want to do is create a movement of energy through the 5 bodies. Okay? This has been an ancient yogic practice. In the Chinese tradition, they use the points of energy, the ley lines. Not the ley lines, sorry, the qi. Okay? So it's the same in a way, because they use the energetic points of the central nervous system. Right. I'm going to go back to that. There's only really two things. In how to get to spirit, we need to work energy. How do you manipulate energy? You manipulate first and foremost through the breath. Pure breath work allows a flow of energy to be able to pump you lighter so that you can touch the higher. Okay? Have you noticed how when you do oxygen, you stay 15 minutes with oxygen, there's a different, wow, it opens up here. Other people, they do hape. It opens up here. Hape is like this light tobacco that they put in. It opens up. So what we're trying to do is let the breath open up, expand. Because without breathing, we're also not energizing the body. So to get to spirit, you need to work it with energy from the breath. So if I were to tell you, please stop breathing for 15 minutes, I will have here a morgue. Everybody dead. Okay? It's as simple as that. Spirit flows through us because of our breath. When the breath is unconscious, there is no energy. When we bring consciousness to the breath, we energize. Okay? So you're saying, how is it connected to 2020 and COVID? What I'm talking about. Until you energize yourselves, until you work the 5 bodies, you will not be in the power to work anything in the period of COVID. Because once you get afraid in the brain, fear, the only thing that can stop the fear is to stay put and breathe. When you want to fight somebody and go into World War 15, you stop and bring about world peace with the breath. Just breathing. I've done pranayama for years, believe me. In manipulating the breath, in being able to control the breath, it expands. It expands the energy. Okay? And this is what we want. Because when we lighten up and when we expand it, and it comes from the core, then we change the world. We change our world. We manifest what we want in our world. And we need to do this together now. Just cannot be any more one. That's why you have people of like-minded directions. With the attempt, let's do this. Either let's all do permaculture, let's all meditate together, let's all talk about good stuff, let's all do, So in grade school, I said yes. Because we must bring this light together now. It is utmost darkness now. And you begin with the breath. Where are we going? This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Who has heard that? I know she hasn't. Okay, 10-year-old here hasn't. All right, I want to give the meaning to the word, to the song, and this might show my age. But in the 70s, I think, 70s, yeah, I was very young then. in the 70s, there was a musical called Hair in Broadway. It was the first beatnik, hippie, tofu vegan attempt with long hair, free love, make love, not war kind of thing. That was the first. Actually, Neptune entered a position to trigger a promise of a seed of what is to come. Okay? But then, nawala din yun. It was just a trigger that it's possible. But now, look at everything that they had talked about then. It's all about vegan, yoga, hippie love. Let's make love, not war. Let's just come together and sing. Okay, let us sing. I want to sing. People, my friends who know me, they really get amused when I begin to sing the song, Hair. When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns to Mars, and love will rule the planet and light the stars. That's the lyric. Those are the lyrics of the song. But there's astrological meaning to this. When the moon, which represents all our dreams, our longings, and our aspirations, go into the 7th house, which is the house of partnerships, of Libra, of justice and balance. When what we long for becomes that, when the moon is in the 7th house, and Jupiter aligns with Mars. Jupiter, remember the big planet, like Santa Claus, that is spiritual-oriented, expands spirituality. When Jupiter aligns with the god of war, Mars, Jupiter covers war, and spirituality rules, and the stars smile. So this is the whole meaning of why we want to be able to look at things and long for the justice in the world, the balance that is necessary, so that we can expand spirituality and stop war. I mean, that's basically the meaning of that phrase, of that song. And so they call it the Age of Aquarius. Now, technically, there's even something more, okay? In the Indian tradition, they have what they call the yugas. These are the ages. There's the Bronze Age, the Silver Age, the Gold Age, the Metal Age, all okay? And we are in the deepest part, which is the darkest part, called the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga means all the shadows are allowed to come out, so that the world can be cleansed. So all the shadows out. We're getting out of that and moving into the next 2,000 years. Because from that dark space of Pisces, we move into the Aquarian age, the next sign in the zodiac, called Aquarius. In astrology, from Pisces of 2,000 years, we move into the age of Aquarius. In the Indian tradition, from the Kali Yuga, I forget the next age. Sorry, I forget the next age. But, huh? Cap? Yeah. We're getting out of it? Okay, I forget. Sorry. Anyway, you move into a next phase out of that dark Kali Yuga. But in astrology, we enter the Aquarian age. We're not there yet. It's like if Pisces was dying and the Aquarian age was trying to come in, we're here. We're just here. It has to lock in. But that's where we are now, in between. We're in the birth bank. So that's why everything's a mess. So everything must change. The norms, and we see it now, institutions are totally broken. So there will be new systems of medical systems, new education online, different systems for business coming up. Technology and AI is going to infuse this world, right? Are we going to become transhuman, have computers, or are we going to keep our humanism? So these are the paradoxes of our time that we struggle with, no? And but don't get lost. We have somewhere we want to go. We're going to a new form of a collaborative way that is more positive for the world, more positive that can look at the planet as connected to us. So anything that is Aquarius is about working together, in collaboration, in relationship, not just with our own physical bodies, but also that of the whole Earth. And the galaxy included. Why? Because it's about opening our consciousness. It's awakening our consciousness. And this is what Aquarius is. More than anything else, it is about consciousness. We have to raise it, shift it, and therefore evolve. Early part, my first slide showed you the spiral. We're going up that spiral. We're halfway up. We're not yet there. So what happens in the next year? We're just going to continue, but now with a new trajectory. So the December 21 Great Conjunction is a jump-off point to a new trajectory that if we are conscious, we can maximize and use. If we are asleep, then, you miss the boat. So the reason we want to be able to understand what is happening, not because of fear, but to understand it here, is so that we can do something about it with our body, change our diet, sleep 8 hours, 7 hours, be with positive people, create your own positivity. The world and the internet is full of this, right? But you also have the shadows. You have the fake news. You have the desecration of what is the incapacity of humanity to accept what is. Because they're so fundamental about it has to be my way and the highway, or my way is right and yours. And the pole of this opposition is precisely what's forcing us all to grow. The Grand Conjunction and the Yuga push us to a new place and a new direction. And hopefully, I really hope we are all aware that we can do it.
A better place? Better?
Depends on your perspective of what you define as better. But the point is, you will have to change. Really define what it is. When people say better, from whose perspective? If a Republican said that, not from versus a Democrat, or if you look at it from a perspective, what's better?
No, better than this stupid COVID.
Well, look at it this way: nothing stays forever. The scenario of the illusion of this world that we're creating, in the yogic tradition, in the practice of spirituality, once we understand that we really are in an illusion here. The Matrix, you watch the Matrix. It is an illusion. And when you wake up, you define what you want for where you want to go. Because you can go this way, you can go that way, but in a different trajectory, right?
Can I say something?
Sure, yes.
When I entered, you were talking about Saturn and the rings and that is why I don't believe climate change is that it's the planets that are changing our climate. It's not us.
Well, I beg to disagree a little. From my perspective, when you were saying that it's the planets just doing everything.
It changes everything.
Yes. The transits affect everything, but we also are the planets. The planets is a consciousness. We are a consciousness. What do we put in that energy? Oh, it's going to swirl. Am I going to jump in and start killing everyone? Or am I going to jump in and fly? But it's swirling. It's swirling. Go ahead. What do you want to do? That's what the planets are doing. The planets are swirling, changing, hitting each other, moving backward in this whole play, getting more dramatic. What's your call? Your call is different from her call, different from mine and different from hers. That's what I'm trying to say, where you have to come back inside to your breath so that you watch all your bodies and your technology. And with a clarity, I show you my first slide later, it's about the clarity of consciousness that we want 2020 to end up with, so that when December 21 comes, trajectories are clear. I know from here on, I'm not going to do that, I'll do this. But if you enter 2021, yeah, pero this is what they said before, but I know we have to go there. If you're still there, you are going to get lost again. Because it's like shift like that, it's shifting. So, are you going to go lower or going to go higher? It's going this way or that. Which bus are you taking? Your call. So, we say, bahala na. Bahala na, Batman. I had to put this because it's a Filipino phrase that everybody loves. You want to do anything humanly possible, and then, are you okay? Bahala na, bahala na. That's so Pinoy, yeah? But bahala na came from Bathala. It's our old traditional way of looking at our God force. A God force that was both feminine and masculine together. No? So, bahala na. But that bahala na is a belief in the higher, supreme energy that moves the wisdom of the planets. There's something higher in this whole cosmos that moves that we cannot even comprehend. We cannot. So bahala na. But in that bahala na, you better be doing your own thing too. Okay? When they say, do everything humanly possible and then pray. And be like a bamboo, because we're Pinoys. And have you noticed how bamboos always start in clumps? And they rise together. And they move together. And they make music together. And they sing together. And they rustle and create beautiful, beautiful ambience. That's us. Because we cannot rise anymore alone. Coming up, we have to come together, aligned with higher purpose. Going upward. Okay? So on that note, I'm going to end the mabuhay, another Filipino term. But its root word is buhay, which is life. And when you define life, how will you define your life? Really? Seriously, how will you define your life? Because I started to, because of COVID, define my life as really being the best I can. Being just me. Being. That's it. I lost all ambition, seriously. After COVID, why am I doing that? Right? Why am I doing that? That's it, just be. And so the moments of your life have greater meaning because you're alive to the moment. That's really what it is. So at the end now, mabuhay, to be alive, to choose what you define as life, and to be able to really live it. And that is the very gift of COVID, to make us stay with, why the hell are we here on earth? And question that. Okay? So on that note, thank you for listening to something very queer. But I think that if you took to heart what I was just saying, and for all those who are watching through the Facebook live streaming, you can check out other videos that I have under my page called Jeannie Ihavalosa-New. I just posted it there because I have so many friends who just keep asking what's next. I could just listen and it's very hard to keep talking one-on-one. So you can check it out there. And I'm open for questions. Please feel free. Okay?
How do you spell Jeannie?
Jeannie, like I dream of Jeannie.
Are you done?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions? Let's have an open forum.
Yeah, well, first I'd like to thank Jeannie. She's a very, very adept astrologer, and I've known her for quite some time. And that's why when I put up this wellness, I'm now thinking, I have not discussed this with her yet, but I would like to make this as regular as possible. That depends on her schedule. And she also does charts, okay? And that is a more, shall we say, detailed, in-depth analysis of your personal cosmic plan or makeup. And it will explain the many cycles of your life. And knowing the cycles you're going to go through and knowing the past cycles that we've gone through, you will understand how scientific astrology is.
Very scientific.
Okay, so, and I've been into this for 44 years of my life. Nagulat si Jimmy sa age ko.
Exactly. Nagulat ako, Grace.
I'm turning, just from this book, I'm turning 74 years old.
Can you imagine that? That's what you call youth and vitality.
Yes.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
That's why I need that to Jimmy, because I've really listened to her, I've watched her, I've not watched, read her articles in the newspaper, and she reminds me of what my guru told me 44 years ago, the holistic life. That's why I put up this enclave, and this is my vision. My vision is to give you the tools from all the mental levels, the levels that she talked about, the levels of consciousness, the mental, the physical, the spiritual, because we badly need it now because of the COVID and what's happening in the world. So she has a number, and if you can look at, I can ask her, I don't know, I haven't asked her yet, if she can do some chart readings here, and I will promote her, what she does, because I'm in for a change of consciousness in the entire world.
That's what
this is what is needed right now. We have dropped to the frequency of COVID, and what we need to do is change our vibration and leave COVID behind. That's all we need. When she said lightening of consciousness and all of that, we all need to band together. There's very few that's open to this kind of knowledge. Let's bond together and spread the word. We need it badly.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for this invitation.
Any questions?
Any questions?
She's an expert in astrology. Yeah. Cynthia, she's a very inquisitive mind. She's I'm in sports commission.
Sorry.
Secretary for Wellness.
Oh gosh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. We've been doing for DOT all these wellness things because, I mean, you're talking from MSMEs all the way up. They need because of the mental health. Yeah. But you must see it from holistic.
In the board now, she just voted yesterday.
Congratulations.
Commission. And she said also in our Olympics. Okay.
Because the breathing is all about power in Olympics, right? Well, there's a reason why you're there and why you're here now.
Okay.
Is there any? Okay, perfect.
For golden ladies.
Any question? Yes, and then you want me to go first?
Mine is more because my background is education. Although I just retired and I've been very active in. I don't know if you're familiar with Steiner education.
Yes, Rudolf Steiner, as anthroposophist.
Yes,
It's very good.
I was connected with a Waldorf school.
Yeah.
So with this COVID, everyone has shifted to online, and there has been a lot of negative repercussion, not only with Steiner schools, but
Everybody.
with everybody. I was hoping, I mean, with your talk and the age of Aquarius, I mean, and we have to work together. I was just thinking, how can we, I mean, like you were saying, we have to balance what technology is bringing in, but at the same time, the humanity should be there. Now, you can see that a lot of this online and technology is destroying humanity in a certain way. So, is there anything you can advise or mention?
That's such a good question because it's actually for all angles, not just for the young, not just education, but especially for the young. No? So there's a whole trajectory of technology, which is the information, right? And you will lose out on the relational, sensual, touching, being together, kind of storytelling energies. No? We're just in an in-between phase right now, and this will be maybe a couple years where there will be an adjustment. After which there will have to be a rethinking of new ways of teaching, because maybe the educational process of Steiner might have to be shifted and changed in some way that balance off with the humanistic side. That's why you have a lot of things like people going off, the children, their families going, thank you so much. Thank you. Like children having to go to learn farming. They visit farm tours, right? Or they're going to walk the trail here because they can be taught. So maybe the educational angle will also change. So even if Steiner decides to continue, the Waldorf school continues, maybe they should begin doing tours and teaching their children how to understand the path of the forest. Or to stare up in the sky and look at this, you know what I mean? You have to do a balance because at the end, this is a couple of years. It's not going to go away.
Well, actually, the sad part is that's what Steiner education is all about. It's really nature,
Yes.
and such. But because of online education, it has
I mean, at least
shifted it into something really cool.
yeah, that's why you just have to fight more.
We just have to sort of
You have to position something different in lieu of that. You can't get out online education, the deck says so, right? But you can create all these tours and push children and push through decks to try to see if you can create something more humanistic or work with the parents to do things together in the systems of the anthroposophy, for example. So I'm just saying that what do you do in your choice given this? Because nobody will have the answer. This is what they call the sifting of the shift. The shifting and the sifting. The lower against the higher, the dark against the light, the shadow. You know, it's the play of shadow and light.
But if it's the government that's creating the shadow, because
That's why institutions are being broken up. And because we are also in the period where the shadow is allowed to do what it wants. The shadows allowed. In the Catholic Church, they call it the devil's given the choice. Do what you like now. It's exactly where we are. So what do? You fight. It's called laban. We fight, right? We fight from our spaces so that we become stronger with many of us together. That's what it is.
Yes.
You're welcome. Yes?
I noticed something there that said Jupiter and Saturn. I think I kind of missed the point. What was it about again? We were in Jupiter and Saturn already.
Okay. We are. You came a little late, but those were my slides. Okay.
Yeah, it was from the slide.
Okay, and then I explained this. Is this what you were asking for?
Oh, there was another one where it was on the.
Yeah. Where are we going? Here? Okay.
Saturn, Jupiter.
Yeah. So the two planets are going to join together in the constellation of Aquarius. Right now they're in Capricorn. That's why everything's breaking up. Institutions broken up. But now these two, Saturn, the builder, but it's also the destroyer, but it builds structures to time, is going to sit next to Jupiter, which is about expansion of spirituality and togetherness, and so they come together, but not in a Capricorn. They will be in Aquarius, which means the energies are different. Yeah, so it's more mental, so the trajectory is faster towards what we've defined, the age of Aquarius. But this is still accelerating, at the same time, you still have the earth changes, the cataclysms, the crises, because this is like, I see up till 2026, this is, accelerating faster. So what do we do in this period? So COVID is just representative of something societal and global. But there's more to that than COVID. I mean, there's so much more. You have the shadows of the women in violence with women, the rapes, the migration issues, the pedophilic, that's shadow of human sexuality. And then you have all the pilferage of mining, of, killing the earth, you have all this, that's shadow too. So much shadow. It's corruption in government, that's shadow. But we have our shadows too in our brains. So that's why it gets it out of Capricorn, which is all about that heaviness. And together, they come into a new space. But what is interesting, as I mentioned, was the day itself is the winter solstice. And that is the longest night of the year, which also represents the deepest darkness of the soul in hibernation. So when you have these two potent planets hit that, it hopefully awakens humanity. And that's what the new trajectory of consciousness. Answer your question? My 10-year-old, you have a question. Did it fly above your head? No? What did you get from here? Just one. What did you learn?
I learned a lot more about the astrology of the middle of the planets. And I get to learn more about ourselves and our souls.
So nice. I can't believe it. I have a 10-year-old listening to my I have a 10-year-old listening to my astrology club. I love it. Huh? And that's the age of Aquarius. I love it. Okay, so thank you very much. If there's no more questions, yes, you have one?
Is it important that we know about our astrological sign?
No.
How does it directly affect our day-to-day lives?
Astrology is a tool. It's a master tool to unlock your soul purpose. I don't even say I do astrological readings. I say I do soul destiny readings. Because you want to look at your chart like a map. Where the hell are you going? I look at my map. Where did I go this year? I look at my map. It's just a map, and all I do is read. You move it, you work it, you choose. So, knowledge gained and used purposefully gives you power. With the power is mastery. With the mastery is transcendence. And that's what we want to do. So it's really up to you. Whether you want to learn or not, or read, it's really up to you. No one's forcing, but it is a power tool. A tool of mastery. And you cannot compare yourself to any other person but yourself. And that is the uniqueness that God has given us, or that we have chosen from the universe space to bring down to this earth in a physical form, in this incarnation now. I try not to talk to esoteric because it's kind of, I try to bring it down, okay? Yes.
Ask ko lang, ano yung similarity between the astrology and then the Chinese astrology?
Okay, you're talking that the Chinese animal sign, they use Jupiter, so it's a 12-year cycle. So the animal, example, tiger is just this year, and then it moves around, and it has also its friends, right? Like tiger's friends with dragon and horse, horse and dog, so there's a trine. Like that also with astrology. The elements, Earth, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo are friendlier together than they are with the fire. So again, it just uses the Jupiter as a point, which is an animal sign per year, and the moon, kasi east. So the Western astrology uses the sun as the center of the galaxy around.
So, meaning to say that whether I will follow the tool of the
I suggest
Chinese
you use
or-
both. I use both. Like I know my Chinese animal and my shadow animal. You know Kung Fu Panda? Kung Fu's friends. You saw him? Okay. So Kung Fu Panda has friends. And there's always one there, diba? That's the shadow watching him. So you have to find out your animal sign, and then the time of your birth, what was the animal there? That's your friend, animal shadow, helping you all the time. Okay? So use it together. Then you have a more holistic approach of what your purpose is.
It's not, hindi siya conflict.
No, not. It's very symbiotic. It helps each other. Okay?
Thank you.
So thank you very much for coming, and thank you, Grace. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I always forget my birthday, actually. It's just so happens the last Saturday of the month. We always have these activities, because as I said, I've been indoctrinated in this consciousness, knowledge 24 years ago, and I'd like to share it to as many people as possible. So
Time to
bring
give
it
back.
out.
Time to give back.
We will be doing this on a regular basis. We have health talks, because I used to be under Secretary of Health on complementary medicine. So that's what I am now sharing with everybody.
Can you bye-bye everyone.